Brock Beck was a problem. He was a pirate that ravaged the seas, but here's the thing, he didn't do it alone. A lot of y'all already know the three frontrunners of his crew. You know, Whitebeard, the man with the power to destroy the world. Kaido, the world's strongest creature. And Big Mom, the only woman in the history of histories to grow her own army. She got 80 plus kids and each one of them got a hefty bounty. That's impressive. But there is a fourth member of the Rock's pirate that gets completely overlooked and I don't understand why. Some of y'all aren't putting respect on Shiki the Golden Lion. Let me change that. So today, I'm going to explain to you a power that Oda himself literally didn't even want to be in the story because he realized it'd be too busted. And if you like the way that sounds, I discuss devil fruits and other powers every week. Subscribe so you don't miss out on what your cooler friends are already tuned into. Tap in. I'll also be sharing my favorite comments this week at the end of this video. You know how some devil fruits sound kind of goofy or silly at first, but when you sit there and think about it, you be like, this thing could literally end civilization. Yeah, that's the float fruit. This fruit lets you make almost anything float. I mean, ships, islands, maybe even continents. And it's so busted that Oda literally had to remove it from the main story before it turned One Piece into a completely different anime. Let's start with the basics. The Fuwa Fuwa no Mi, or the float fruit, was eaten by Shiki the Golden Lion, one of Roger's greatest rivals. This ability lets Shiki make any non-living object float just by touching it. Just one hit is all it takes, just one tap. And once it's floating, he can freely control its movement. This means ships, mountains, weapons, even islands. The dude literally created floating islands that are constantly orbiting and moving along with his ship at all times. The dude is literally passively terraforming just because he wanted it. Imagine if he teamed up with or fought against somebody like Enel or Akainu, like the world would be cooked. Like imagine Akainu getting mad, raining down magma from an island you can't even see because it's floating up in the air. I can see why Akainu would definitely be the person who got the One Piece the fastest if he went for it. I digress. But here's the thing, I know some of you guys might be asking, why haven't we seen this fruit again? That's a good question. One Piece has reintroduced devil fruits numerous times, whether it's having the same character come back, whether a devil fruit is passed on to someone else, or we're just seeing a similar variation of this fruit. Some could argue that Fujitori's press fruit, something similar to it, since it kind of grants pseudo-telekinesis, but that's solely off of gravity and pressure. That's a different thing. What Shiki does is not gravity, it's not pressure, it's just one tap. So what's the deal with this particular fruit? Well, there's actually a theory that Oda knew how absurdly busted this fruit was. So much so that he purposely did his best to keep it out of the main storyline. We only saw this devil fruit in action in a movie, which by default makes us think it's non-canon. It only exists there. But Oda accidentally wrote Shiki back into the mix. So guess what? This fruit is now canon. In a minute, we're gonna look at just how far this fruit could really go. And it'll make you realize why the float fruit might have been rewritten out of the entire world of One Piece, because the John wouldn't make the journey so easy, bro. It'd be like starting the game off with max stats. Let's talk about Shiki for a second. Shiki isn't just some filler villain, not anymore. Shiki's canon. He escaped Impel Down, you know, that place where Luffy and everybody was at, by himself by cutting off his legs. Bull cut off his own legs and replaced them with swords. That is so cool. Like imagine, like, you know, you see peg leg pirates. Sword leg pirate though, I mean, you got a ring to it. And even with swords for legs, he managed to build up an entire fleet. One that can counter or even rival that of the world government and the Marines. Y'all, I hate to see them coming. I don't know what type of air detection y'all got, but y'all better tap in with Vegapunk for some better, you know, sonar or something. You know what's crazy? You know how he got stopped? Roger and Garp. Roger and Garp teamed up with him. Roger, fight your own battles, my guy. And Garp, fight your own battles. I'm noticing something. Shiki got jumped. We were told rocks got jumped. Fair ones don't exist in the wonderful world of One Piece, but come on, man. But that's just how much of a menace Shiki really was. Like, he didn't need any science. He didn't need to borrow Vegapunk's science or any technology to do what he wanted to do. By his own power, the power of float fruit, the dude literally caused mass terraformation and just took what he wanted and left. Then leave. Peace out. So let's break down why this fruit is absolutely terrifying. At its core, the float fruit kind of gives the user control over gravity, but selectively. It's not flight, it's not levitation, it's partial gravity manipulation, because you can stop anything from moving, anything non-living. He kind of has a mini Fujitora fruit, But instead of pressing something down, he just completely makes it weightless. In One Piece, we already know controlling gravity is like a divine tier fruit. We saw that. We discussed that. Go watch the video if you haven't. But like, imagine if you didn't have the need for like directions or restraints. Couple things Shiki could do. One, if you got mad at somebody, you could pick the island up. You could tap the island, lift the island, float it around. Imagine you try to come home and you can't find your house. Not because someone destroyed your house, but because the entire landmass that it originally existed upon no longer is there because you pissed off the wrong pirate. And now your house is floating all the way up there. Or better yet, your man's brought your house to you. Your man's over here dropping islands casually just because. I'd be super petty with the Fuwa Fuwa no me. I'd be like, cool, you right, you got it. Wham, now your car floating. I don't think your insurance gonna cover that. You can also build floating fortresses. Like I said, not too many people can get up there. Yeah, Fujitora can fight to bring you down. I don't know how that battle looks like. I would love to see it. But not too many people can get up there. So you can shoot people down with your cannons or whatever, all from above. And they just have to look up like that meme when the bull was like, it'd be like that. You also kind of overcome one of the main limitations of a devil fruit, and that is the weakness to the sea. You see, because you can cut the sea. You can cut the sea and control it. This is the only devil fruit that lets you control water. At least so far. It's not a water fruit, but you can literally control water, air, earth. You are a part-time avatar. Shout out to the crossover. One Piece, The Last Airbender. Make it happen. Like, can you imagine pulling up to the Marine headquarters in one of their vessels, never touching the sea, floating above them? They're gonna be like, hey, yo, come down here. You just gotta be like, nah, y'all come up here. And then you just tap. Just imagine going down there, tapping. Oh, bet it. Imagine someone has like a heavy suit of armor on, right? And then you just tap it. You can't make people float, but you can make things float. So if somebody got like a heavy suit of armor on, you just one tap it and just... Now they're weightless. Imagine getting sent flying because of your armor. There's ways around the power. There's ways around the limitations. Shiki uses powers in a lot of ways, and I thought they were really cool. But there is also a reason why we'll probably never see Shiki or his power come back. Because if Oda reintroduced the float fruit into the story today, it would instantly mess up the world building consistency. Think about how much effort it took for Enel to get to the moon. A man was up there at Skypiea having him working overtime for his Maxim arc. Mad time. Vegapunk took forever to build the Seraphim and his dome and everything. All these things took time. Going up Reverse Mountain, going into the Grand Line, all these things take a lot of time. But not if you have the float fruit. You can kind of shortcut your way through the entire Grand Line. Even the world government couldn't logically try to let a fruit like this exist because I can assure you, the Seraphim have all different powers. If this was an option, every single one of them would have this devil fruit. Easily. Plus, let's think about it real quick. The world government don't let a lot of things slide. They erase an entire island for knowing too much. You think they're gonna let someone who can literally invade and bring an entire nation float around all freely? Nah, the world government won't let that fly. So, Oda did the only thing he could. He gave it to a legend of the past, canonized it just enough to make the world feel real, and then sealed it off again before it could break the logic of the series. It's almost like the fruit itself represents an era of unrestrained chaos, one of too much freedom, the old pirate generation where powers had no limits and everybody was off and everybody. Oda had to stop that though. And I completely understand it, but man, it had potential. Imagine if you were to combine him with someone from the modern age, right? Imagine Shiki does have his power passed on to someone else, teams up with somebody like Law or Blackbeard. Law can make floating operations from mid-air. He could turn the literal sky and every speck of an island into an infinite teleportation portals. Like it'd be crazy combining this with any devil fruit for real. We've seen how Oda balances strong powers, typically by adding some strong blowback, some drawback, or makes it so that you're tired, you're fatigued, you just can't do it for too long. We saw what happened with Gear 5. He gets all, we saw Law used too much powers. Now he asthmatic. There have not been any drawbacks for this float fruit. Shiki was constantly, passively, mind you, keeping islands afloat, whirling them about while navigating his own ship and still doing whatever he wanted elsewhere. He didn't even have to be in constant connection to keep it doing so. There were no drawbacks to this fruit, at least not that we know of. No time limits, no restrictions, just complete environmental control. Which is why, narratively speaking, it's kind of a cheat code. A cheat code I would really like to see, but I like the way One Piece is paced, and I don't want them to ruin that. You can't build tension if you can always just fly away. If things don't go your way, you can just tap the boat, I'm outie, and just float off. You can't do that. There's never true fear. It's like there's always a way out. Whether that's up and to the left or to the right, it doesn't matter. You would always have a get out of jail free card with that. Look at Shiki, cut his own legs off, got out of jail. Just saying, it happens. Although we have seen some echoes of the flow fruit concept in newer powers, specifically the Fujitora. The press fruit granting pseudo telekinesis versus this one granting almost complete telekinesis. Technically, he kinda, like, they're similar powers but different. Same but different. I understand the limitations of them both though. Although we haven't seen Fujitora expressing any extreme fatigue after lifting up almost an entire island. Shiki, he wants your power. So maybe, honestly, the float fruit was like a testing ground for Oda's later ideas, more refined, better ways to make world-shaping powers, because we've seen what he's able to do with Fujitora's power. We saw how he's able to manipulate the entire area around with powers like Doflamingos, with powers like Luffy literally impacting the entire world, but still having a semblance of balance, making them very powerful, but still somewhat restrictive. This way, these powers don't exactly break the story, they make the story. And let's be honest, if the float fruit does reappear, it's gonna reappear at the final chapter of One Piece, because that is a complete endgame weapon. Y'all know it is. So, to wrap it all up, the float fruit isn't just powerful. It's a symbol of how wild the old pirate era really was. It represents a level of strength that can't really exist in the modern world of One Piece. Because if it did, it would rewrite the rules entirely. Yes, Zoro, Luffy, they're all strong. But when we look at the legends of the past, the Odins, the Rogers, the Drawbacks, they were on a completely different level. And it's like, our current pirates are trying to ramp up to there. Will they eclipse them? Eventually, yeah. But these are only the tales that we've heard of. There are so many more powers and other people we haven't. And that's what I love about One Piece. There's always more to it. Shiki may not be a part of the main timeline anymore, but his power reminds us of how massive Oda's imagination really is, and how carefully he has to keep things balanced in order to have the story somewhat grounded. Though if we ever do see that John come back, Laboon, we're gonna have room for you, I can assure it, man. If you enjoyed the video, thanks for watching it. Took a little minute to get out for you guys, my bad, I had a busy week, but hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you learned that Roxy the Bag has some real hitters with him. If y'all want the other people covered, y'all let me know. Y'all want a certain devil fruit, y'all let me know. But only if you with the fleet. If you didn't like the video, if you're not subscribed to the team, you're not even part of the team for real, what you doing here? If you're new here, hey, welcome in. And if not, I appreciate y'all stopping by. Until next time, thanks again, have a good day. But not just yet, we can't forget some of my favorite comments of the week. First one comes from Dust saying, I have to admit, there's some great points in his power, but unfortunately it's still pretty low on my Paramecia tier list, just above the Munch fruit. Listen, we're all gonna have different opinions about devil fruits and place them all different places. This is not an area for us to combat and saying who's stronger, who's better, because we all know that the imagination is the only thing that limits this. So I like having creative conversations and debates with y'all in the comment section, so feel free to always drop your opinion, even if you think it might not be that popular, because at the end of the day, it's yours and it's free. Give it. After that, going to the next one, right? This one is from Huncho. He says he could put a field around himself and everything around him like Infinity and JJK. Mind you, I made this reference in the video. Either you are supporting my claim or you wasn't fully listening to me, but either way, you're not wrong though. The press fruit allows you to control pressure. You could definitely have a constant barrier, whether thin or thick barrier, depending on your preference. We don't discriminate around your barrier type around here. All around you the entire time, and yeah, you could theoretically just walk into stuff and crush people like Gojo did in Shibuya. Yeah, in Shibuya. Listen, all I know is it's a tough power and I like to see it used a bit more. Why not? After that, we have another one from the same video, why the Snip fruit is secretly OP. It says, I can picture the awakened Snip fruit user being able to part the seas itself or even cut the way through the door mirror dimensions. Now, another main reason I put that out there today is because the devil fruit we covered today literally lets you cut the seas. You see, I also realized that the Snip Snip fruit has way more potential than is shown, but seeing how other fruits can use it, I know for a fact this gets awakened is going to be broken. Looking forward to them being able to do a bit more with this. And lastly, we're going to cover one more from the Press fruit because y'all was really rocking with that video, and so was I. I appreciate all the love. But this one comes from Kensei Blades. He says, powers are absolutely fruitful. The more you are familiar with the topic or subject, gravitational fields are a force of attraction proportional to the mass density of an object. This means any and every object has its own gravitational field that can be manipulated. That's true. That's facts. That force can be increased up to the point that gravity does its thing and all that goody good stuff. Listen, this man wants this. Matter of fact, I don't know your gender. Let me rephrase that. This person definitely wants the gravity fruit. I'm trying to tell you right now, you got to get in line. A lot of people want the press fruit, me included, but definitely, if you get it or I get it, we definitely awaken in that joint. Once again, thank you guys for checking out my favorite comments of the week. We drop this every single week, so the best way to do that is to comment. Obviously, I can't read y'all thoughts, but if you stuck around this far, I thank you even more. Have a good day.